aren't we competing with big cities like Portland as far as real job growth, not as a percentage of population, but as just a number of jobs created?
Yeah, it's a great point that you make, and this is some of the information we share with the airlines when we're trying to recruit new air service.
Yeah.
Is we actually give the sheer numbers. The growth numbers are off the chart for us, and there's not a faster place, as far as growth goes in the state of Oregon, and really we're among the fastest in the nation.
Yep.
When it comes to jobs and GDP growth and population growth, et cetera, even wage growth has been up there really high. But when you look at the sheer numbers, it's like, okay, we're smaller.
Yeah.
But if you exclude the Portland metro area in our own state, which is about 9 times our size, and still include the others, which total make up probably 7 or 8 times our population base, we're creating about as many jobs as those other metros combined.
That are 9 times.
Yeah.
The size of ours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stunning, and I would care to conjecture that at these conferences that you're going to, I mean, the tables, the tides turn, and I'm sure there's a lot of people coming to you and this ecosystem trying to learn some lessons. I mean, are we the shining star of job growth and creation at this point in the West?
Well, you mentioned the Milken Institute.
Yeah.
And it's been going for 20 years. Their index that they really rank large and small metros, and they do it on this bundle of kind of economic prosperity or economic activity.
Okay.
Around GDP growth, around what type of industries, what is going on with wages, what's going on with employment, et cetera. Population is actually not part of that.
Yep.
And they kind of bundle that together and say, okay, here's an index for all these cities. I think they are tracking about 350, 360 cities across the U.S. And you wind up number one once. People are like, I've been there. Or I know that place. Yeah. You wind up 2 consecutive years, and they're like, what's going on there? 3. They never had 3 consecutive years.
Did that just happen?
That happened this year, and I believe it will probably have a chance at a four-peat.
Unbelievable.
And it's interesting because the folks, I've got to know the economists at the Milken Institute, because we're like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, sure.
And they've done case studies, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that too, about what they see as different here than other places. But one of their key economists actually now works for the Heartland Institute. It's part of the Walton Family Foundation, Walmart.
Yep.
And they're studying. They're interested in the economy and what makes successful places, because they want obviously build successful communities that have consumers that can spend money, that
sure.
Et cetera, et cetera. So, and they've done a little different index, and they didn't group large and small. They took them all together. It's called the Most Dynamic Metros study that they've just released the first one of this last year. And so it's like 379 metros that they're looking at across the U.S., and Bend ranked number 5. And one of their key criteria, and the kind of premise that they have, is that it's different than the Milken Institute, is they are looking at the proportion of jobs that are from young companies.
Portion of jobs from young companies.
Yeah,
okay.
Which is something we saw when
that's a leading indicator of where this is going.
Yeah, we saw this in the economic downturn, that the companies that were creating the most jobs were all ones that were established 5 or 10 years prior. And so that's why we put a lot of our weight behind the entrepreneurial effort. And their whole premise is that, well, in the top 30, there's only 2 that don't have a real high scoring index on this proportion of jobs coming from young companies.
Okay.
And Ben ranked super high on that. So another top 10 ranking for the community, and this is against even larger metros, where you think, okay, that's what's gathering all the capital and the young companies and the entrepreneurs and the young adults. We're in the ring with some pretty heavy hitters and all that. So it's pretty exciting.